Hello there strategy gamers, and in this video, this is actually an updated video. I've done this twice actually, but this time I have a bit more information about trade routes, and I want to add on to the video I did on how trade works in Stellaris 2.2. Now, thanks to the help from the community, Stellaris community, who commented on my previous video, plus the helpful soul who answered my query on the Paradox forums, thank you very much. I have some new information here that might be super handy for you guys. Right? If you've been wondering how am I supposed to control and edit my trade routes, well, stay on, because in this video finally I'll be able to show you exactly where and how you can actually manage and control your trade routes. So something I just want to correct from something I said from the how trade works video, my previous video, is that I said that the trade routes are created automatically, which is correct. Trade routes created automatically, but they don't. I mentioned that they only appear within your territory, but no, trade routes can actually go outside of your territory and go into neutral territory. Like for instance, I'm showing you guys here Alpha Centauri here. I don't have Diem here. And also it can go into enemy territory or other factions territory. So this is actually a problem, because you see, if Diem here, and Diem was actually occupied by hostile forces earlier in the game, which I defeated, but earlier in the game when Diem had hostile forces, the trade route, which automatically was created once I created a star base at Alpha Centauri, still went through Diem, but I didn't get any trade value from the Alpha Centauri trade hub. So the problem here is, how do I actually tell the game, don't send trade down this system? This is a dangerous system. So regardless whether it's a neutral territory or enemy territory, you want to control the flow of trade. You don't want it to go to this sort of areas. I mean, you'd be wasting a lot of precious energy credits which you could earn, right? It's all going to waste on this hostile system. So I will explain two ways how to do this. So the first way is, if you actually click on, okay, let me just click on the trade routes here. So currently you can see Alpha Centauri here is sending trade to Diem, but of course it goes through, but previously it didn't. If I want to say, hey, I don't want to go through here, but maybe go through Procyon and Saturnius and then the Sun, now I can't manually draw the thing, right? But what I could do is, I have to get out of trade route map mode. I can click on Diem here, and once I entered the system view here, there's a little icon here which I think many people miss, and many people don't use this. Systems not restricted. So it says here, our fleets may freely travel to Diem. If I click on this, which means that now our fleets will avoid traveling through Diem. Actually, it doesn't. It's not avoid, actually, it just will not travel to Diem here. So what happens now is interesting. So I've restricted my fleets, including trade ships, from going into Diem. So what happens is, I just need to pass time a little bit, and there you go. So I've restricted Diem here, and I've rerouted the trade route to find an alternate route to my capital, Sun here. So there's a disadvantage to doing this though. This is not a perfect system, because now you can see that since Diem is actually a choke point here, I can't send any units here. It says that I can't. You see, I can't. The system is restricted. So whatever science fleet or your military fleet, you can't just send them here. So obviously that's a problem, because I still want my fleet to go through the thing. But you see, what I will say is that this system, restricting system, is great if there's a hostile force and you don't have enough of a military fleet. Your military fleet is not powerful enough to take on that hostile force. So temporarily you could do this to say, okay, none of my ships are going there because the hostile force is way too powerful. So earlier in my game, Diem here had a huge hostile force and I didn't have a military fleet that could defeat it. So I actually focused my expansion on this side of the galaxy. So it would have been perfectly fine if I use system restrict, but right now I wouldn't use this to actually say don't use Diem here. There's a bit of piracy here also. So obviously I can't build any trade route, a spaceport here or an outpost, but I can now colonize this, or rather I can actually build an outpost here, so it's not a problem. So my point being that this is not ideal in every single situation, right? So sometimes you don't want to block the system entirely. So the other method of doing this, the other method of actually controlling where you want to send your trade routes is, it's actually hidden actually. Now I am still in the trade route map mode, right? All I have to do is, what you're seeing here is my trade capital, right? So it's showing, okay, the trade that's coming, incoming trade routes from all the different star bases that I have. So how do I actually adjust Alpha Centauri to send it through a different route? So what I could do is, I just need to click on this icon right here. It says here Alpha Centauri Trade Hub, right? Just click on this, right? Now what I need to do is I just right click on another starbase like that. So the other option that you have is that you can actually send, or you can send the collected trade value from one starbase to another starbase, right? So what you could do is you could chain starbases together to one mega starbase, right, which collects all the trade values and send that to the Empire collection. So as long as all the trade value that have been collected in your space is sent to your Empire capital, it's a-okay. So you could actually link up star bases this way and have, like, for instance, now Walk-on Prime sends if I click on this, Walk-on Prime, it says here incoming trade route is from Alpha Centauri, I'm getting 100% of it. An outgoing trade route to the Sun, and Sun is only getting 44% because of piracy, right? If I click on Sun, incoming trade route from Walk-on is experiencing 44% piracy. So this 44% of piracy, I must add, it's also from Alpha Centauri to Walk-on. So it's not just from Walk-on to the Sun. So the piracy from Alpha Centauri to that new starbase that you're sending trade value to still counts, right? So I could actually do something like this, like for instance, to give you an idea. So I can set up, I can set up Walk-on as like my hub for all my trade. So now I am clicking on Alpha Centauri, I'm sending it to Walk-on. I have Adasage here, I'm sending it to Walk-on, and I have where is it, Nizatrom? I can send trade value from Nizatrom to Walk-on. So now what's happening is that, oh yeah, I need to play time a little bit so that it gets updated. All right, so what happens now is if I check out the Sun here, or rather Walk-on, actually Walk-on is sending 81 trade value. Incoming trade route, it's telling me from where, and outgoing trade routes going to the Sun. So you could actually set up your trade routes however you like, but it has to be said that if you're creating a major trade route funnel, right, which means you're funneling all the trade route in your empire through a couple of trade lanes or hyper lanes, the incidence of piracy will increase. So your piracy effect will increase because there's more trade value going through that route. So you have to take that into account. And there is no real penalty to actually changing trade routes to go to a particular trade hub and stuff. the only advantage that I can think of is that it all entirely depends on the galaxy the game generates for you. So for instance, if you have an empire capital which has multiple different hyperlanes linking up to the sun, or whatever your empire capital is, so, and if you've gone out and colonized the galaxy and you have multiple different trade lanes coming into your empire capital, it will be a little hard to manage every single trade lane to protect it from piracy. So one of the logic or the rationale of sort of linking up with a single star base to then focus on sending it to the sun is so that you have less trade lanes or hyperlanes to focus your piracy protection on, right? So, but you have to also take into account that funneling a lot of trade value in a single trade lane will also increase the piracy effect on those trade lanes. So there's a lot of there's not a huge like benefit to actually doing this right now, other than it's a management thing, like managing which trade lanes to protect. And it also really depends on the random galaxy that you get and the hyperlanes, how it's structured. Is there a choke point, or is there multiple lanes where you could actually have a star base somewhere that is sort of like a collective of trade value instead? So yeah, that's the two ways to control and shape your trade routes the way you want it. It's not 100% control of exactly how you want to shape your trade routes. You won't get 100% unless Paradox gives you the ability to actually select every single trade lane by yourself. So what I really want to know is, I hope that this has been super useful for you guys, because some of these features are actually kind of hidden. You didn't know. I didn't know that I could actually click on that, actually create a new route for my trade route, and also restricting the systems and stuff. Like, for those who actually know of the systems, like share with me what's your strategy in terms of setting up trade routes, right? Or how do you go about thinking about this? How do you plan out your trade routes? Also, another little reminder for you guys, 2.2 is pretty new. It's a massive patch. There's a lot of bugs, things not working as intended, UIs not telling the correct information. If you spot anything that you think is kind of weird, report it to the Paradox forums. I have a link in the description below of the Stellaris technical bug report sub forum. So if you have any questions, or you want to share your strategies of setting up trade routes and general strategies for Stellaris 2.2, please do share in the comments below. I just want to say thank you for subscribing to this channel. If you like watching videos on strategy games, I play lots of strategy games, and I sort of create really short videos that explain what this strategy game is about and why I love them. If you like videos like that, do check them out on my channel and do subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.